this tutorial, we want to explore the possibilities to create scatterplot charts using Vega visualizations that has been introduced in Kibana 6.2. If you're running an older version of Kibana, you can check out the link in the description to Yuri's standalone Vega visualization plugin. We want to visualize some requests from a request log. In each request there's also bytes and an extension field that we will use later on. To create a new Vega visualization, just select the Vega visualization type from the other categories when creating a new visualization. Vega visualizations are using the Vega visualization grammar to express how a graph should be drawn. Let's start with a fresh configuration that only have the schema definition that any Vega visualization needs to have. Since we want to draw a scatterplot chart, we should specify mark point so that each document will be drawn as an individual point. Next, we need to tell Vega where to load its data from. Therefore, we will use the data configuration and specify an URL object. If we specify an object to the URL parameter, we will actually load data from Elasticsearch and can configure the request that will be done to Elasticsearch here. By specifying %context % equals true, we will tell the Vega visualization to take into account the filters from the dashboard it's embedded into. With %time field %, we can specify the field name of the main time field of our documents. In the rest of the URL object, we'll configure the request that will be executed against the _search API of Elasticsearch. First, we specify the index. The body object will be sent as the request body to Elasticsearch and can contain any valid Elasticsearch query DSL syntax. We could use aggregations here, but for our scatterplot chart we want to visualize individual documents. So we just set the size parameter to 10,000 to get as many documents as we can, and we can use the _source parameter to tell Elasticsearch in which fields of the documents we are interested, so it won't return the full source document. Specify only the timestamp, bytes and extension field here, so we can draw a scatterplot over the time on the x-axis, with the bytes of each request drawn on the y-axis. To distinguish between different extension types, let's give each extension a specific color and shape. We need to tell Vega now where in the response the actual array of data points can be found. Therefore, we'll use the format.property key and set it to hits.hits, which is the path within an Elasticsearch response that contains the array of documents. In our example, the timestamp field would return values in a string format, which can't be properly used by Vega for time dimension. But Vega allows us to transform each document before visualizing it. The transform array can contain a list of transformations. In our case, we just need one. We use the toDate method on the timestamp field to convert that string value into a proper time value for Vega. Using the S key, we can specify under which name we later want to access this calculated value. In this case, we give it the name time. The encoding key now holds the actual information how we want to encode this data in the chart. Let's first configure the x-axis. We want the previously calculated time field to be drawn on this, so we specify field equals time to use that field. We set the type of the axis to temporal to tell Vega that it should be handled as a time axis. Just to show some more configuration options, let's also disable the title below the x-axis. Next, we need to configure the y-axis. As mentioned earlier, we want to draw the actual transferred bytes on the y-axis. So we specify the _source.bytes field and we set the type to quantitative. We can also specify an axis label. In our case, we'll set this to transferred bytes. We are now ready to draw the first version of our scatterplot chart. Be aware, since we are drawing individual documents, this might take a few seconds to draw. And voila, our first scatterplot chart has rendered. To make the chart a little bit more interesting, let's give each request an individual color and shape depending on its extension that was requested. Let's make the color dependent on the underscore source.extension field and specify a type of nominal. If you would want to color data points depending on a numeric value, you could also use a type of quantitative to get a color scale instead of distinct colors. And voila, an even more colorful scatterplot chart. By default, Vega will use the field name as a label for the legend. But we can easily change this by specifying a different legend title. Last but not least, let's also use shapes besides colors to distinguish extensions from each other. I hope you had fun learning how you can use Vega visualizations to configure scatterplot charts in Kibana. You can find a link in the description to a blog post containing the configuration for this chart. See you the next time.